Welcome back to AM Agenda. With me this morning, Liberal frontbencher Senator Mitch Fifield here in Canberra, and in Melbourne I've got Labor frontbencher Richard Marles. Richard, bubbling underneath the surface this week, we've been talking about the key legislative votes, but the ongoing chatter about Kevin Rudd. One of his former staff members, a speechwriter during Kevin Rudd's time as Prime Minister, Troy Bramston, has written in the Australian newspaper this morning. He says, the reality now dawning on the caucus, there is no easy way out, nor a clear pathway to political survival. Like it or not, Rudd is coming, and so is Gillard's political execution. That's from Troy Bramston, as I say, a former Kevin Rudd advisor. What do you say to that? And do you concede that this talk is going to continue as long as the primary vote's below 30 in all of the opinion polls?
Well, this is media speculation. There's a fair bit of opposition, hope and mischief associated with all of this as well. But this is principally media speculation, and obviously we're going through difficult times in terms of the debates that we are pursuing and the polls that are occurring, and so it's not surprising the media would speculate. But what it isn't is reality on the ground. The fact of the matter is the caucus is 100% behind the Prime Minister, who's doing a great job in very difficult circumstances, and in terms of her support, that includes Kevin Rudd. I mean, he's made it clear in the last week that he supports the way the Prime Minister is conducting her job. He said that he's not a candidate, and he, like the rest of us, are 100% behind her.
You must concede, though, that the chatter isn't just media speculation, that there are a lot of Labor people talking to the media on this front, and that there is a sense within Labor that Mr Rudd, his profile in recent weeks, a handful of marginal seats, reading to children, that his profile is not that which you'd normally see for a foreign minister. He's been undertaking things which have not been typically in the brief of a man in his portfolio.
I don't accept that. Kevin Rudd has been out there selling the government, as has every other senior minister. And of course, Kevin Rudd brings, as a former Prime Minister, a profile to his job which is a great asset for the government and a great asset for the country as the Foreign Minister. But it's nothing more than that. And in terms of Labor MPs chattering to the media, well, what I do see today is the comments from Mark Bishop, who of course was fingered by Graham Richardson last week. But what Mark Bishop's made clear is he hasn't spoken to Kevin Rudd in months. What Richo said on his program last week is clearly just a fair bit of hot air and speculation. I actually don't think there are a whole lot of Labor MPs talking up anything to the media. I think what we're seeing is media speculation combined with a lot of opposition MPs desperately hoping that something might happen.
Senator Fifield, that point that Richard Marles made about Mark Bishop, he's quoted in the West Australian newspaper, an article by Andrew Probyn, in which he says he played no part in this at all, goes through the chronology of events. It does seem that there's been, or according to him anyway, he's been attributed with something he's not been involved in.
Well, I don't know whether Mark Bishop has been involved or not, but there's about 100 other members of the ALP caucus, and Richard's wrong. This is not being driven by a frenzied media, as he put it. This is being driven by the sheer and absolute terror of Labor backbenchers in marginal seats who think they're going to be out of a job. That is what is driving this. This is entirely internally driven by the ALP. Now, for our part, we're not terribly fussed about the ambitions of Kevin Rudd or Julia Gillard. And I might quote Labor here. They're very fond of talking about the national interest all the time. Well, that's the real problem with this internal dynamic of the Labor Party, is you've got Julia Gillard looking over her shoulder rather than doing her day job, which is meant to be looking after the national interest. All right. That's the real problem.
Senator Fifield and Richard Marles, gentlemen, good to speak to you, and thanks for the chat this morning. Appreciate it.
Good to see you, Kieran.
Good to see you, Kieran. That's all for AM Agenda. Make sure you join Ashley Gillen, 1:30.